I recently had a request by one of my subscribers. I think it was Kiwi Dahan. Um, if I could build a simple circuit for a flashlight or torch. And what he asked me, is it possible to put a flashing LED inside the flashlight so that if it in the pitch black at night time, you could find it? Because if there was a power failure, or perhaps if you were camping in a tent and your torch is somewhere hidden away in the tent and you can't find it. So be handy if you could see just a very faint blinking light when you open your eyes, and if you need to see where you're going, you can then go and grab your flashlight or torch. It would make it easy to find it in the pitch black, like in a tent or other situation, or maybe in South Africa, for instance, where we have lots of load shedding power failures. If it's pitch black, you'd want to be able to find this in the dark. The other requirement was that during the daytime, it doesn't flash. It has a light detecting circuit which would turn the flashing LED off during the day, and it'll only start flashing once it's completely dark. So I thought that was a really good idea. My challenge was to make the circuit low power, because it's very easy to construct a circuit to make an LED flash, but what you want to do it is with the lowest amount of current consumption possible. Of course, you can't bring it down to zero because everything uses some current, but you can certainly build one that uses very little. So if we open it up, we can see if we can fit a flashing LED inside. So this is the type of thing I want to put inside, a little flashing LED like that. And they're quite good because the little circuitry to make it flash is built into the LED. There's a little chip right at the bottom of that LED. I don't know if you can see it. A little black chip. And that microchip flashes. It has all the circuitry that it needs to flash. It just needs, in most cases, it needs a resistor, and that's it. And then you connect it to a power supply and it flashes. Very handy, so you don't have to build the flashing circuit. So now I came up with a very simple little circuit design, which is essentially just a little MOSFET and a 1 mega ohm resistor and a light dependent resistor, an LDR. So that's your light sensor. And the MOSFET just turns the flashing LED on. So this is the simple little flashing LED circuit with a light detector in it. So it only flashes in the dark. And it's based around this BS 170 MOSFET, but you can use any small signal MOSFET. And the idea is that the gate does not consume any power to power it. There's no current flowing into the gate. So and because this is battery powered, that's important. We want this circuit to use basically almost nothing on standby, especially at nighttime. So how it works is you have this LDR here. When it's illuminated by light, its resistance is quite low, so it pulls the gate down to the 0 volt, so the MOSFET will be turned off. But the moment it gets dark, this resistance starts to climb. So this 1 mega ohm resistor here starts to pull the gate up more towards the positive supply rail, and then it gently starts to turn on. And then because you're using a flashing LED with built-in flasher chip, that will then start to flash. Also, normally you would put a series resistor with an LED. Some flashing LEDs don't need them, but it's good practice to put a series resistor to limit the current to the flashing LED. We don't have to do that because there's a little quirk in this circuit that the moment it starts to flash, the LDR picks that up and starts to turn the transistor off. So it's like a feedback circuit. It starts to limit the current to the LED, so it only glows really dimly, which is what we want. So we actually eliminated one resistor by putting these next to each other. So this one produces light onto that one and then limits the current to that one. It's a little quirk of the circuit which I didn't plan, but actually worked out nice, because that meant we need one less resistor. Yeah, so it's very simple, ultra low current. This is only just meant to be just visible at night time, and when you're inside your tent and you're desperately looking for that flashlight. And you don't want your eyes closed and to be able to see the red flashing light when you're inside a tent camping. So very simple. Thanks to Kiwi Dahan, one of my subscribers, that requested this circuit. And I think it's a very clever little circuit. I'm surprised nobody's ever done this before. Maybe they have. I've never seen a flashlight or a torch with something like this in there. So what we need to see is where this can be built into this torch. I'm thinking to have it sit on the reflector on the inside there, so that the light scatters onto the reflector. We want it to be very dim so it doesn't disturb you when you're sleeping. So I think just drill 2 little holes behind there so the light sensor and the LED sit next to each other. And that's another important function of the them being next to each other, because it's actually self-regulating. When it sees itself flash, it actually dims the LED, so it actually helps it to consume less power. Yeah, so let's open it up and see how easy that is to modify. I've never actually opened this up before, so we'll have to see. Okay, so there's plenty of room inside. So I would say we can just mount them in there. That'll be good. Very good. So we'll put that aside. So I started by marking out positions for the LDR and LED, and then drilling them out. So after putting in the LDR and LED, I carefully bend their legs over and crop them down so that they can be carefully soldered to the MOSFET transistor and the 1 mega ohm resistor. At this point I didn't realize I made a mistake. I soldered the bottom leg of the resistor to the negative, and it should have been soldered to the gate of the transistor, but I realized this and corrected it later. Now it was time to add some red and black wires to directly connect to the battery positive and negative terminals. There's a lot of empty space inside this unit, which makes it quite easy to work on. It's quite handy, really. As it turns out, I made a mistake. This resistor should be connected to the gate, the middle pin of this transistor here. So I have to unsolder it and move it over to there. Oh well, not to worry. It's a quick fix. These things do happen. And that's it, the completed circuit. Looking good. Now it's simply a matter of putting it all back together, and try not to trap any of the wires, and fingers crossed, hope for the best. Well, it still works. That's a good sign. So when there's light, it's not flashing, and when it goes dark, it starts to flash. Notice how it's bright at the beginning of the pulse and a bit dimmer. That's because it's actually getting feedback off its light sensor, and it's illuminating its own light sensor. So it creates an interesting bright to dim strobe effect, which I quite like. Very low current consumption. So if we illuminate it, it should go off, and if it's pitch black dark, it should start flashing very dimly. Just enough so you could see it in the dark. So that was quite an easy and fun little hack to do to a flashlight or torch. If you have any ideas for future builds like this, leave a comment down below. And please subscribe to my channel, that way you can see more of these videos if you like them. And share them with your friends. We can all share ideas together, and we all learn something. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you later.